The emergency alarm screamed through the Galactic Council station. Ambassador's 3 eyes blinked rapidly as the message played again. His thin, blue fingers trembled over the console. "This is Mining Colony 7. We are under attack. They have come. Please, anyone who can hear this. We need help. We have children here. We have." The message cut to static, then silence. Looked around the council chamber. 12 species sat in their specialized seats. Some needed water tanks. Others required low-gravity fields. All of them looked scared. They whispered Mora, her aquatic form rippling with fear. "They have never lost a battle." "How far is the nearest defense fleet?" asked. The station computer answered in its calm voice. "Nearest council fleet is 23 days away." 23 days, his voice cracked. "The colony will fall in hours." The council members looked at each other. No one spoke. What could they say? There were monsters. Their warriors stood twice as tall as most galactic species. They breathed poison. Their weapons melted through armor. Every species in the galaxy feared them. "Wait," said the computer. "One ship has responded to the distress call. They are 3 days away." 3 days, felt a small hope. "Which fleet is it?" "It is not a fleet. It is a single vessel. The ship is called Constellation. It is registered to Earth." Silence filled the chamber. "Earth?" Mara's voice bubbled in confusion. "I do not know this world." "They are new," said Elder, his old voice barely a whisper. "The humans. They made contact only a year ago. They are from the far edge of the galaxy." A single ship, felt his hope dying. One ship against that is suicide. The communication screen flickered to life. A face appeared. It was a human face. The being had dark hair, sharp eyes, and smooth brown skin. He wore a blue uniform with strange markings. "This is Captain of the Constellation," the human said. His voice was steady and calm. "We received your distress call. We are changing course to 7. We will arrive in 72 hours. Stared at the human. The creature looked so fragile, 2 eyes instead of 3. No protective scales, no armored plates, just soft skin and cloth. "Captain," said carefully, "we are grateful for your response, but you must understand, they are extremely dangerous. They have conquered 17 colonies this year alone. Perhaps you should wait for." "We're not waiting," Captain said. His face showed no fear. "You asked for help, we're coming." "But Captain, your ship is alone. They will have dozens of war vessels. Your crew will die." Something changed in the human's expression. Not fear, something else. His lips curved slightly. "Ambassador, how many people are in that colony?" "Almost 3,000 souls," said quietly. "Then 3,000 people need us right now," Captain replied. "We didn't come to the stars to run away when things get hard." Another human appeared on the screen. This one was female, with long dark hair pulled back. She wore a white uniform with a red symbol on it. "I'm doctor," she said. "We'll need medical data on your colonists. Send us everything. Biological requirements, common injuries, allergies. We want to be ready when we arrive." "You want to prepare for medical care?" Mora asked in surprise. "You should prepare for battle." "We'll do both," said a third voice. Another human stepped into view. This one was bigger, with wide shoulders and hands. "I'm engineer. Send us the colony's defensive system specs. Maybe we can boost them remotely before we arrive." Felt confused. These humans talked like they had already won, like there were just a small problem to solve. Captain tried again. "Please understand, they are not like other threats. They are born warriors. They have toxic blood. Their home world has gravity 3 times standard. They are nearly impossible to kill." Captain looked directly at the camera. His dark eyes held something that made skin prickle. "Ambassador, can you tell me about Earth?" the captain asked. I do not know much about your world," admitted. "Our gravity is about 1 g, that's standard for us. Our atmosphere is mostly nitrogen and oxygen. Oxygen is pretty reactive stuff. It basically rusts metal slowly. We breathe it like water. That sounds normal, said, though he wasn't sure. Our planet has weather, Captain continued. Storms that can flatten cities. Temperature swings from freezing to cooking. We have predators that hunt in packs. Diseases that evolve to beat our medicine. Earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis. Doctor stepped forward again. We have 8 billion people on Earth, Ambassador. Every single one of us is descended from survivors. Our ancestors didn't have claws or armor or poison. They just had stubbornness and each other. I do not understand what you are saying, said. He's saying we're not as fragile as we look, said another human voice. A woman with short hair appeared. She wore a dark uniform with weapons on her belt. I'm security chief. Captain, we should go over the assault plans. Assault plans, Elder's voice rose in pitch. You plan to attack the... They're attacking civilians, said simply. So yes, we're going to stop them. Captain looked back at the council. Ambassador, we're 3 days out. Use that time to evacuate as many colonists as you can to the shelters. Get the children to the deepest levels. We'll handle the rest. Captain, please. We're already on our way, said. His voice was final. Out. The screen went dark. The council chamber stayed silent for a long moment. Then Elder spoke. Did we just send those humans to their deaths? Looked at his thin, blue hands. Then he looked at the empty screen where the humans had been. They had looked so certain, so unafraid. I do not know, said quietly, but I think we may have just seen something new. What do you mean? Asked Mora. Thought about Captain's eyes. About the calm way the humans had talked about fighting about words like stubbornness and survivors. I think, he said slowly, we just met a species that does not know how to give up. In the depths of space, the constellation changed course. Inside, Captain stood on the bridge. His crew worked around him, preparing for battle. They checked weapons. They studied maps of the colony. They ran medical drills. No one looked worried. Pilot Ho called out from his station. 3 days to 7, Captain. Good, said. Let's make them count, meeting in 10 minutes, all senior staff. Around the galaxy, species would soon learn a new word. A word that would make the retreat. A word that would change everything. Yep. The humans were coming, and they didn't know how to lose. The constellation dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the 7 system. On the bridge, Captain studied the screens. What he saw was bad. Report, he said calmly. 15 warships in orbit, said Pilot Ho. His fingers danced over his controls. The colony is completely surrounded. I'm reading weapon impacts on the surface. Heavy bombardment. Life signs, asked Doctor from the medical bay. 2,137, reported Engineer. They're all in the underground shelters, but Ambassador, the shelters won't last much longer. The screen showed his terrified face. He was in the colony's command center, deep underground. Behind him, people screamed and cried. Captain, thank the stars you came. His voice shook. But please, you must listen. They have brought their full war fleet. Their warriors are on the surface. They are releasing toxic gases into the air. The automated defenses are destroyed. We have maybe 6 hours before they break through to us. What kind of toxins? Asked Doctor. Sulfur compounds, carbon monoxide, heavy metals in vapor form, said quickly. The air is death now. Even in protective suits, our people would die in minutes. Captain looked at Security Chief. She was already strapping on her combat gear. She raised an eyebrow at him. Sounds like old Earth, she said with a small smile. What? Didn't understand. Nothing, said. Ambassador, we need you to do something for us. Anything. Send us the exact atmospheric readings from the surface. Temperature, pressure, gas composition, everything. But why? You cannot go down there. Not even your ship's hull could. Just send it, said. Screen lit up with data. He studied it for a few seconds. Then he started laughing. "What is funny?" His three eyes went wide. "People are dying." Sorry, said, trying to control himself. "It's just, okay, so the temperature is ranging from -10 to +45 degrees Celsius. Pressure is zero point 0.9 standard. The toxic gases are mostly sulfur dioxide and carbon monoxide at about 2% concentration." Doctor leaned over his shoulder. "That's it." "That's it." "Hush," he said. "So like early industrial Earth, or maybe near a volcano." "Pretty much," agreed. On the screen looked like he might faint. "You are laughing. This atmosphere will kill you." Captain leaned forward. "Ambassador, those conditions are bad, but humans have worked in similar environments on Earth. With basic protective gear, we'll be fine." "But the—" "Tell me about the warriors," said. "How tall, how fast, what weapons?" "They are enormous, 2.5 meters tall. They have 4 arms, each stronger than any of our people. They move like lightning. Their skin is thick like armor. They carry acid throwers and plasma cutters. Captain, they are nightmare creatures." Security chief checked her rifle. 2.5 meters, so about 8 feet. "That's tall," said Pilot Ho, "but we've all seen taller humans." "The basketball player from New Lagos was taller," agreed. "What else, Ambassador?" "They what?" Looked confused. "You are not afraid." "We're always afraid," Captain said quietly. "But fear doesn't help anyone. Now we're going down there. We'll lead the ground team. Ho will fly support. We'll handle the technical side. We'll set up a field hospital." "Field hospital," repeated. "You plan to treat the wounded during battle." "Of course," Doctor said like it was obvious. "What did you think we'd do? Let people bleed?" Stood up. "All hands, combat stations. Get your team ready. Ho, I want dropship beta prepped in 5 minutes. Can you jam the communications?" "Already working on it," said with a grin. Ambassador said to, "Keep your people in the shelters. We're coming in hot." The Constellation fired its engines and dove toward the planet. On the surface of 7, Commander watched his warriors destroy the last automated gun tower. Soon, they would break into the underground shelters. Soon, they would have another conquered world. Then his sensor officer made a strange sound. "Commander, a ship is entering the atmosphere." The council finally sent someone, laughed. It sounded like rocks grinding. "One ship, destroy it." "Commander, they are not slowing down. They are diving straight at us." Turned to look. A human ship, small and fast, screamed through the poisoned air. It should have been melting. Instead, it seemed completely fine. "Fire everything at them," roared. Plasma bolts lit up the sky. The human ship twisted and dodged. It was moving faster than anything had ever seen. Then it fired back. The human weapons were different, not plasma, something that made sharp cracks in the air. Missiles? No, kinetic weapons, simple metal moving very fast. But they worked. 3 war machines exploded. The ship's belly opened. Small pods shot out, falling toward the ground like meteors. Counted 12 pods. They hit the surface hard, throwing up clouds of toxic dust. The pods opened. Things came out. Felt something he had not felt in many years. Confusion. The beings were small, much smaller than warriors. They wore armor, but it was light. They carried weapons that looked simple, but the way they moved. "What are they?" his officer whispered. "Unknown species," said. "Kill them all." His warriors charged. 20, each massive and armed, rushed at the 12 small beings. Then everything changed. The small beings didn't run. They spread out in a pattern like they had practiced this 1,000 times. Their weapons made that sharp cracking sound. Watched 3 of his warriors fall. The small beings moved between cover, fast and smooth. One of his warriors reached a small being. It raised its acid thrower. The small being didn't even flinch. It rolled sideways, faster than should be possible in 0.9 gravity. Then it shot the warrior 3 times. The warrior fell. "What are these creatures?" his officer shouted. Then one of the small beings spoke. The translator made the words clear. "Security chief to all teams, remember your training. Aim for the joints in their armor. Work in pairs. Watch each other's backs." That was a name. The small being had a name. Activated his own comm. "All units converge on the landing zone. These beings are dangerous." More warriors came running. The small beings humans remembered now kept fighting. They didn't stop. They didn't slow down. When one reloaded her weapon, another covered her. When one got hit, another dragged him to cover while still shooting. And they were so fast. Had never seen beings move like this in .9 gravity. His own people struggled with anything below 1.5. These humans moved like the gravity meant nothing. One human ran up a pile of rubble and jumped, actually jumped, at least 3 meters. It shot 2 warriors while still in the air. "Pilot ho to ground team," a voice said over the human channel. "Your ride is here." The human ship came back, flying low. It fired rockets at a walker. The walker exploded. Then the ship dropped more supplies near the humans. "Medical supplies," said a female human voice. "I'm setting up in the colony's main entrance. Bring wounded there." "Copy that, Doc," said. "Teams, push forward. We need to clear a path for the civilians." Push forward. These humans thought they could push forward against the... Watched his warriors fall back. They were actually retreating from 12 small beings. Beings that breathed poison air like it was nothing. Beings that moved through toxic smoke without slowing down. Beings that kept fighting even when hurt. In the underground shelter, watched the monitors in shock. "They are winning," he whispered. "The humans are winning." Elder stood beside him, all 6 of his limbs trembling. What kind of world creates beings like that? On the screen, they watched Security Chief coordinate her team with quick, calm words. They watched the humans cover each other with practiced ease. They watched warriors from a death world do what seemed impossible. "I do not know," said quietly, "but I think we should be very grateful they are on our side." Sergeant Sung pressed his back against a broken wall and reloaded his rifle. Sweat ran down his face, mixing with the dust. Around him, the toxic air was thick and yellow. His breathing mask filtered it easily. "Team 2 status," he said into his comm. "We've cleared the east section," came the reply. 4 wounded, no casualties." "Copy, fall back to the rally point. Medic is there." Sung looked around the corner. 6 warriors were trying to break through to the shelter entrance. Behind them, more were coming. A lot more. "Tech," Sung called. "I need eyes." "On it, Sergeant." A small drone buzzed over Sung's head. It flew high, then sent pictures to his visor. Sung studied them. They were organizing, getting smarter. That was bad. "Captain," Sung said, "we need support at the main entrance. They're massing for a push." "Pilot Ho is inbound," his voice replied. 30 seconds. Sung heard the ship before he saw it. The Constellation's shuttle screamed overhead, its engines roaring. Missiles streaked down, hitting the formation. The explosion shook the ground. "That's our opening," Sung shouted. "Move." His team rushed forward. They were scattered and confused. Sung's people hit them hard and fast. Within minutes, the entrance was clear. "Entrance secured," Sung reported. "Beginning civilian evacuation." The shelter doors opened. Ambassador came out first, blinking in the dim, toxic light. Behind him came the colonists. They were thin and scared. Many were injured. Doctor met them at the entrance. She had set up a medical station in what used to be a storage building. Now it was filled with supplies and equipment. "Bring the wounded to me," she called. "Everyone else stay calm, we're getting you out." An alien child stumbled and fell. Doctor caught her gently. The child looked up at the human with 3 frightened eyes. "It's okay," said softly. "You're safe now." "But the poison air," the child whispered. "How are you not dying?" Smiled. "Where I come from, this isn't so bad. Now let me check you over. Approached Sergeant Sung. The human was tall and solid, his armor from the fighting. He was giving orders to his team, calm and controlled. Sergeant said, I must know, how are you doing this? They have never been beaten before. Sung looked at him. They're tough, good fighters, but they're not used to losing. Neither are you, I think, said quietly. No, Sung agreed, but we're used to hard fights. On Earth, everything was a hard fight. I still do not understand. What kind of world was Earth? Sung sat down on a broken piece of metal. He was breathing hard, but not too hard. Around them, the battle continued. But here, for a moment, it was almost quiet. You want to know about Earth? Sung asked. Okay, Earth had 1.0 gravity. That's standard for us, but for you, he gestured at its thin limbs. You'd collapse under your own weight. That is horrifying. That's normal, Sung corrected. Our air was 21% oxygen. Oxygen is really reactive. It corrodes things. We breathe it constantly. Our own atmosphere slowly damages our bodies and we just heal from it. His three eyes went wide. The temperature on Earth ranged from -90 to +57 degrees Celsius. Sometimes it could change 40 degrees in one day. We had storms that could level cities, earthquakes that could swallow buildings, waves taller than towers. How did you survive? We adapted, Sung said simply. We built shelters, we made tools. We learned to predict the weather and plan around it, and when we couldn't predict it, we just endured. A medic ran past them, carrying supplies to Doctor. Noticed the medic was also carrying a wounded warrior. You are helping he asked in shock. He surrendered, Sung said. Doctor treats everyone, that's her way. At the medical station, Doctor was indeed treating the warrior. The creature was massive, easily 3 times her size. It watched her with suspicious eyes. Hold still, said, this might sting. You help enemy, the asked in broken standard. You stopped fighting, replied, cleaning the wound on this arm. That makes you a patient, not an enemy. Another colonist whispered too, is this human female not afraid? I do not think humans know fear the way we do, said. Actually, medic was scared. Her hands shook slightly as she bandaged a child's arm, but she didn't stop working. Fear was just something that existed. It didn't control her. Doctor called, I need the bone knitter, blue container. On it, replied. She grabbed the tool and handed it over, then went back to her own patients. A huge explosion rocked the ground. Everyone ducked except the humans. They just looked toward the sound, assessed it, and went back to work. They do not even flinch, whispered Elder. Tech specialist was on the roof of the medical building. She controlled 6 drones, watching all approaches. Her screens showed positions, human positions, and civilian locations. She drank water from a tube without looking away from her displays. Captain, she said, they are pulling back. They're regrouping at their ships. Good, Captain replied. How many civilians left? About 300 still in the deep shelters. They're the weakest ones, can't move fast. Then we hold until they're out, said. All teams maintain perimeter. On the command ship, Commander stared at his screens. He had lost 40 warriors, 40, against 12 humans and their support ship. Commander, we should withdraw, his second-in-command said. We do not withdraw, roared, but his voice lacked certainty. Commander, said the sensor officer quietly, I have been scanning the humans. Their biology is wrong. What do you mean? They have incredible bone density, muscle efficiency beyond any species I've seen. Their cardiovascular system can increase oxygen flow by 300% when needed. They have something called adrenaline that makes them stronger during stress. So they are engineered warriors. No, Commander, this is natural. Their entire species evolved this way. Felt cold. What kind of world creates such beings naturally? The sensor officer pulled up data. A world with 0.1 higher gravity than Prime. A world with extreme temperature variance. A world where every other species was trying to kill them. A death world, whispered. Yes, Commander, and there are billions of them. Below, on the surface, the last colonists were being evacuated, watched as security chief made sure every single person was counted. Is that everyone? She asked. Yes, confirmed. Everyone is accounted for. Good, let's move out. Wait, said, they may attack again. You should leave now while you can. Looked at him. We're not leaving until you're all safely on our ship. But you could die. Maybe, agreed. But that's the job, we protect people, that's what we do. Sergeant Sung came jogging up. Perimeter is secure, are retreating to orbit. I think they've had enough. Can't imagine why, said with a slight smile. Okay, let's get these people loaded. The colonists boarded the human shuttle in groups. They moved slowly, unused to the gravity and afraid of the open air. The humans helped them patiently, supporting the weak ones and calming the scared ones. Doctor was the last to leave the surface. She looked at her field hospital one last time, making sure no one was left behind. Then she picked up her kit and headed for the shuttle. Doctor said, "You saved hundreds of lives today." "We all did," she replied. "That's what medicine is, saving lives, doesn't matter whose lives or where." As the shuttle lifted off, looked down at the colony. It was damaged but not destroyed, and it was still theirs, not this. "I have a question," he said to Captain. "Go ahead." "Why did you come? We are not your people, this is not your war." Looked out at the stars. "Because you asked for help, because people needed us, that's enough." "On Earth," said slowly, "you said everything tried to kill you. Your planet made you into warriors." "It made us into survivors," corrected. "Warriors fight for conquest. We fight for survival, for each other, for anyone who needs it." "What do we call beings like you, from such a terrible world?" Captain thought for a moment. "On Earth, we just call ourselves human, but if you need a word," he smiled slightly, "I guess you could call us." The word spread through the galaxy faster than light. The beings from the impossible world, the ones who didn't know when to quit. And they never attacked human-protected colonies again. 3 weeks after the Battle of Seven, the galactic information networks were on fire. Every species, every world, every station was talking about one thing. Humans. Commander sat in the constellation's command center, reading reports on his data pad. He shook his head slowly and smiled. "Captain, you need to see this," he said. Captain looked up from his own work. "What is it?" "The Council has received over 5,000 requests for human protection contracts. 5,000. And that's just in the last week." 5,000, leaned back in his chair. "We have 12 ships." 15 now, corrected. "Earth sent 3 more last week, but yes, there's no way we can cover that many worlds." In the science bay, scientist was conducting interviews with the rescued colonists. She had been documenting everything about the battle for the Earth historical archives. Her recordings would be studied for generations. "Tell me what you saw," she said gently to a young colonist. The alien child looked at her with large purple eyes. "The humans fought the monsters. They weren't scared." "Were you scared?" "Yes, very scared. But then the human with the medicine, doctor, she held my hand. She told me stories about Earth while she fixed my leg." "What kind of stories?" "About rain and snow and something called autumn. She said on Earth, the whole world changes colors every year. Trees turn red and gold and then sleep through winter." Smiled. "That's true. Did it help the stories?" "Yes, because if humans could survive a world that did such strange things, then maybe I could survive too." Made notes. This was important. The humans weren't just protecting people, they were giving them hope. Across the galaxy, on the Galactic Council station, an emergency session was in progress. Representatives from 200 species filled the chamber. On the main screen, A human face appeared. It was Admiral of Earth Defense Fleet. "Thank you for inviting me to speak," Admiral said. Her voice was clear and professional. "Admiral," said Council Leader Pax, his tentacles moved nervously. "We must discuss Earth's role in galactic affairs. Your people have changed things." "How so?" asked. "You defeated the in one battle with one ship," Pax's voice shook. "They have been a threat for 300 years. We have lost countless worlds to them, and you stopped them in 3 hours." "We had good intelligence and training," said, "and luck." "It was not luck," said another council member. "This one was who had been sent to observe the humans at 7. I watched your people fight, Admiral. I watched them operate in conditions that would kill my species in seconds. I watched them endure injuries that should have stopped them. They just kept going." "We're stubborn," agreed. "You are terrifying," said bluntly. "We researched your world. We know what Earth is now." Murmurs spread through the council. On screens throughout the galaxy, billions of beings watched this conversation. "Tell them what you found," Pax said too. Pulled up data files. Images of Earth appeared. Blue oceans, green forests, white clouds. It looked beautiful. "This is Earth," said. "It appears pleasant, but let me show you the reality." More images appeared. A hurricane from space, massive and violent. An earthquake that had split the ground. A volcanic eruption that painted the sky red. Forest fires that stretched for hundreds of kilometers. "This is also Earth," continued. "A world classified as level 9 hazard, the highest danger rating we have." Shocked gasps filled the chamber. 1.0 gravity, far higher than any council species can tolerate long-term. An atmosphere so reactive it corrodes metal. Temperature extremes that range over 150 degrees. Tectonic activity, volcanic activity, extreme weather, solar radiation. And that's just the environment. Pulled up more images, predators, large ones. "This is called a bear. It stands 3 meters tall and weighs 600 kilograms. It can run 50 kilometers per hour. It eats humans." "Correction," Admiral said calmly. "It tries to eat humans. We usually win those encounters." "You fight creatures like that," someone whispered. "Sometimes," said, "but usually we just avoid them. Earth has millions of species. Some are dangerous, most aren't. We learn to live with all of them." Continued. "Humans also face diseases, microscopic organisms that evolved specifically to infect them, parasites, viruses, bacteria. Their own biology had to develop incredible immune responses. Our medical technology is pretty good too," added. "But that is not even the most shocking part," said. "Show them the history." A timeline appeared. It showed human development over thousands of years. "Humans fought each other," said quietly, "for resources, for territory, for beliefs. They had wars that killed millions. They created weapons that could destroy their entire world." The council was silent. "And yet," continued, "they survived. They learned. They looked at their capability for destruction and chose to reach for the stars instead. They took all that aggression, all that warrior spirit, and pointed it at the universe's problems instead of each other." Admiral's face was serious now. "Council Leader Pax, we're not proud of our history of conflict, but we learned from it. We learned that working together is better than fighting, that protecting others is better than conquering them." "Why should we believe that?" asked a skeptical council member. "You could conquer us all. Your people are stronger, faster, more durable. You have weapons and tactics we cannot match." "Because," said slowly, "we know what it's like to be afraid. Every human has felt fear. Fear of the storm, fear of the predator, fear of each other. We know fear intimately, and that's exactly why we won't become what you fear." "Explain," Pax said. "When you grow up afraid, you have 2 choices. Become the thing you feared or protect others from it. We chose protection. That's what our whole culture is built on now. Not conquest, protection." On the constellation, Scientist was interviewing security chief. "Why did you join the defense forces?" asked. Thought for a moment. My grandmother told me stories about a time before we unified, when humans fought humans. She said those were dark days. She made me promise to use my strength to protect, never to attack. Do you think Earth's violent past makes humans better protectors? Maybe. We understand violence, we understand fear, we understand loss. That makes us careful. We know what happens when strong people forget to be gentle. Made notes. Then she asked the important question, are humans afraid of anything? Of course, said. We're afraid all the time, afraid we'll fail, afraid we'll let people down, afraid we're not good enough. But you don't let fear stop you. No, fear is just information. It tells you something is dangerous. It doesn't tell you to give up. There's a difference. Back at the council, Ambassador was being asked to testify. Tell us your experience with the humans, Pax said. Stood, his thin body still showed marks from the battle, but his voice was strong. They saved us. They came when no one else would. They fought when we thought fighting was impossible. They protected us when they had no reason to care about our colony. Did you feel threatened by them? Yes, admitted. When I first saw what they could do, I was terrified. These beings who could breathe poison and fight monsters and never stop. But then I watched Dr. Singh to scared children while she treated their wounds. I watched Sergeant Sung share his food with our hungry people. I watched Captain work for 3 days without sleep to make sure everyone was safe. His 3 eyes filled with tears. They are from a death world, yes, but they chose to bring life instead of death. They chose to protect instead of conquer. That is not terrifying, that is beautiful. The council chamber was silent for a long moment. Admiral spoke again. Council leader Pax, Earth doesn't want to rule the galaxy. We want to explore it. We want to learn from other species. We want to help where we can. We'll protect anyone who asks, but we won't force our presence on anyone. And if we refuse your help, asked one council member. Then we respect that choice, said simply, but the offer stands always. Pax looked around the chamber. He saw fear in some faces, hope in others, confusion in many. The council will deliberate, he said finally, but I think we may have found something rare in the galaxy, a species powerful enough to be dangerous but wise enough to be kind. On Earth, in the Defense Command, humans were making plans, not plans for conquest, plans for protection. They built ships, they trained soldiers, they prepared medical supplies and disaster relief equipment. They knew the galaxy was watching. They knew some species were afraid of them, but they also knew something important. Fear could become respect, respect could become friendship, and friendship could change everything. Above 7, the constellation kept its orbit. On the surface, the colony was being rebuilt. Humans and aliens worked side by side. Children played in the streets again. And across the galaxy, a new word was being whispered. A word that started in fear but was becoming something else. Yep. The humans from the impossible world. The ones who fight the monsters. The ones who don't give up. The ones who came to help. 6 months had passed since the Battle of 7. The constellation floated in space near the council station, but now it wasn't alone. 15 more human ships formed a defensive perimeter around the station. On the bridge, Captain watched the displays. Any moment now, Admiral would arrive with the main Earth defense fleet. Captain, said Pilot Ho, I'm reading multiple jump signatures, big ones. That'll be the Admiral, said calmly. Space rippled. One by one, massive human ships appeared. They were bigger than anything the Council had ever built. Carrier ships, hospital ships, supply ships, defense platforms being towed into position. And at the center of the fleet, the flagship Endeavor, Admiral's ship. Constellation, this is Endeavor, came's voice. Permission to approach the station. Granted, Admiral replied. Welcome to 7. On the council station, every species watched the fleet arrive. Some with fear, some with hope, all with awe. Ambassador stood at the observation window with Elder. They watched the human ships move with practiced precision. They could destroy this station with one ship, said quietly. Yes, agreed, but they won't. How can you be sure? Because I know them now. They are warriors, yes, but they are also healers, builders, protectors. Touched the window glass. They choose what they become. In the Endeavor's shuttle bay, Admiral prepared for the council meeting. Doctor stood beside her, dressed in formal medical whites. Are you nervous, Admiral? Asked. Terrified, admitted with a slight smile. But that's normal. I thought admirals didn't get scared. Everyone gets scared, Doctor. The trick is not letting fear make your decisions for you. The shuttle carried them to the station. When the doors opened, the entire Galactic Council was waiting. 200 species, all gathered in the Grand Hall. At the center stood Council Leader Pax. Beside him were Mora and Elder. Admiral of Earth, Pax said formally, welcome to the Galactic Council. Bowed respectfully, thank you, Council Leader, we are honored to be here. The Council has been discussing your people for many months now, Pax continued. We have studied your world, your history, your actions at Seven and the other colonies you have protected since then. Waited calmly. We have also, Pax said, his voice dropping, received reports from the Empire. Murmurs spread through the hall. They rarely spoke to the Council. What did they say? Asked. They have declared a truce. For the first time in 300 years they have stopped their expansion. They say, Pax paused, they say they do not wish to fight the. More murmurs, some shocked, some pleased. The respect strength, continued Pax, and they recognize a superior force when they meet it. But that is precisely what concerns many council members. If they fear you, should we not fear you as well? Looked around the hall. She saw the fear in some faces. She understood it. Council Leader, she said clearly, I understand your concern. Let me tell you what we want. She gestured and a hologram appeared. It showed the galaxy. We want to explore these stars. We want to meet new species. We want to learn about different cultures and share our own. We want to help colonies grow. We want to protect those who cannot protect themselves. But not conquer, asked a skeptical voice. No, said firmly. Humanity tried conquest once thousands of years ago. We conquered each other. The result was suffering, death, waste. We learned that lesson the hard way. We won't repeat it. How can we trust this? Before could answer, Captain stepped forward. Behind him came the crew of the Constellation. Doctor, engineer, Sergeant Sung, pilot Ho, medic, tech, all of them. You can trust it, said, because we live it every day. Ambassador came forward too. I can vouch for these humans. They had every opportunity to take control of Seven. We were helpless. They could have demanded anything. Instead, they asked only one thing. What was that? Asked Elder, though he already knew. They asked if we needed more help, said softly. They didn't want payment. They didn't want territory. They wanted to make sure we were truly safe before they left. Doctor spoke next. I've treated over 2,000 patients in the last 6 months, 73 different species. I learned their biology, their medicines, their needs. Every single one of them thanked us for coming, not because we were strong, because we cared. We don't want to rule you, Security Chief added. We want to stand beside you, fight beside you when needed, but mostly just exist beside you, share this galaxy together. Council Leader Pax looked at Admiral for a long moment. Then he made a decision. The Galactic Council has a proposal, he said. We would like to offer humanity a unique position, not as conquerors, not as overlords, but as guardians of the frontier. The hall went silent. What does that mean? Asked carefully. It means, Pax explained, that human ships would patrol the dangerous regions, the places where Council species cannot survive, the worlds with harsh environments, the border zones where threats emerge. You would be our first line of defense, our protectors. In exchange for full council membership, access to our knowledge, our trade networks, our friendship, Pax paused, and our trust, which for species like ours is perhaps the most precious gift we can offer. Admiral looked at her crew. They nodded. This was what they had hoped for. The people of Earth accept, said, with honor and humility. The hall erupted in sounds. Not quite cheering, many species didn't cheer the way humans did, but approval, relief, hope. Over the next weeks, human ships spread across the frontier. They didn't conquer, they didn't demand, they protected. On a mining colony near hostile space, Pilot Ho and his crew arrived just in time to stop raiders. The colonists, a peaceful insect-like species, were shocked when the humans arrested the raiders but treated them medically and fairly. On a farming world with extreme weather, Engineer helped build storm shelters that could withstand conditions that would crush normal structures. He taught the locals how to maintain them. On a medical station, doctor and medic established the first interspecies hospital. They trained alien doctors in trauma medicine. They learned alien healing techniques in return. Everywhere humans went, they brought protection, but also something else. They brought the belief that hard things could be overcome, that fear didn't have to win, that survival was possible even when it seemed impossible. A year after the Battle of Seven, Ambassador visited Earth. Captain invited him personally. When stepped off the shuttle, he immediately felt the gravity. It was crushing. He needed a support exoskeleton just to stand. "This is normal for you," he gasped. "This is home," said with a smile. Took him on a tour. They saw mountains that touched the clouds, oceans that stretched beyond the horizon, cities where billions of humans lived together in relative peace. "Your world is beautiful," said, "but also terrifying." "Both things can be true," replied. They visited a school. Human children learned about aliens now, about different species, different cultures, different ways of thinking. One small child approached. She looked up at him with curious eyes. "Are you from space?" she asked. "Yes," said gently. "That's so cool. When I grow up, I want to be a guardian too. I want to help people like you." Felt something warm in his chest. "I think you will be wonderful at it." That night and sat on a hill, watching the sunset. The sky turned orange and purple and red. "On my world," said, "the sky is always the same color, pale green, unchanging, safe." "Do you prefer it?" asked. "I used to think so, but now, I think maybe your way is better. Beautiful things can be dangerous. Dangerous things can be beautiful. Both together create something worth protecting." "That's very wise," said. "I learned it from humans." 5 years later, the galaxy had changed. They stayed in their territory. New colonies flourished under human protection. Trade routes expanded. Scientific cooperation brought new discoveries. And in a small park on Seven, there was a memorial. It listed the names of those who had died in the Battle of Seven, but it also listed the names of those who had saved them. Children played around it, some human children, some alien children, together. A human girl was playing with a young colonist. They were pretending to be guardians, protecting the galaxy from imaginary threats. "I'll be captain," the human girl said. "I'll be ambassador," the alien child replied. They didn't see the differences between them. They just saw friends. Above them, in orbit, the constellation prepared to jump to another system. Another colony needed help. Another threat needed to be stopped. On the bridge, Captain looked at his crew. They had been together for 6 years now. They had faced danger, fear, impossible odds, and they had won every time. Not because they were the strongest, not because they were fearless, but because they refused to give up, because they cared about protecting others, because they chose kindness over conquest. "All hands," said, We've received a distress call from the Antares colony. They're under attack from solar radiation storms. They need evacuation assistance." "Solar storms," engineer grinned. "That's basically a Tuesday." "How far out are we?" asked security chief. "2 days," replied Pilot Ho. "Then let's move," Doctor said. "People need us." The Constellation's engines flared. The ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, racing toward another world that needed help. In the galaxy, species no longer whispered the word in fear. They said it with respect, with gratitude, with hope. Because they had come from the stars, and they had chosen to be guardians, not conquerors, protectors, not predators. They had come from a world that tried to kill them every day, and instead of becoming killers, they had become saviors. That was the true strength of humanity, not their muscles or their weapons or their stubborn refusal to quit. It was their choice. Every single day they chose compassion over cruelty, protection over power, life over death. And the galaxy was better for it. The constellation disappeared into the stars, carrying hope to those who needed it most. Behind them, the words on the 7 memorial caught the light of the setting sun. They came when no one else would. They fought when victory seemed impossible. They cared when they had no reason to. This is what guardians do. This is what heroes do. This is what humanity chose to be. And across the galaxy, on 1,000 worlds, the From Earth continued their mission. Protecting, helping, never giving up. Just like they always had, just like they always would. Because that was what humans did.